Hey, I'm Max, the original Flowgrammer. If you've been busy on LinkedIn, perhaps you're trying to grow it, or perhaps you're getting a lot of messages to your LinkedIn, you've probably wanted a virtual assistant at some point. And with a lot of AI capabilities evolving really quickly, there's a lot of use cases where we can build some kind of AI agent to help us do some sort of virtual assistant VA tasks in our LinkedIn's and various inboxes. Felix, a full-stack AI engineer in NNN's community, took some time to show me a really neat use case that he built out that helps him manage his LinkedIn and help him grow, especially as he's on the go. One really neat thing you'll see in his video is he's rigged it all up to work from Telegram. And if you're a user of Telegram, you know why. It's way better than LinkedIn chat. And to be honest, it's way better than WhatsApp as well. So he built a use case where he can interact with his LinkedIn from Telegram. This is not just for messaging either. Each new message that he gets added into a vector store. So directly from within Telegram, he can ask questions like, what was that one thing that Max asked me about a month ago, etc., etc. He can send messages to folks as well. On that note, let's hear it from Felix himself. Hey Felix, how's it going?
Good, thank you. Nice to meet you, Max. Super happy to be here and talk about my net inflow.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks so much for coming on. This was an interesting use case. So Felix is one of our community members I actually had the privilege of meeting out in the world at a meetup, and he was telling me about some of the stuff he's working on, and I was like, ooh, we gotta show this off. But before we get all into that, Felix, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, happy to introduce myself. I'm Felix, like Max, living in Berlin. Originally, I studied international management, nothing to do with coding. I actually took the route into coding first, doing data engineering, full stack development. And only like in the couple of months, I got like super excited by NNN. And yeah, that's how I fully got into it and got started. And now happy to be also like going to the NNN meetups in Berlin and exchanging ideas with people.
I always love to hear, even when folks are just a couple months in, like all the stuff that they were able to do, the use cases sharing, the enthusiasm, energy. It's very infectious. So Felix, could you give us a bit of context on what you're showing today and why you built it?
Today, I want to show you like my personal AI assistant. And there I built a sub agent for LinkedIn, which I found very exciting because one of my new year goals is to kind of like grow on LinkedIn and build my brand a bit. And I think agents are super cool because they kind of can take these decisions by themselves. I would say pretty advanced, but in the end, if you understand it, not that advanced use case would be a lot of fun where I can tinker around with my LinkedIn data and have something to show. So that's kind of the idea I want to show. I'll show probably something around like retrieving messages, how to get messages in, sending a connection request, and maybe also a message to Max. All goes well if the demo gods are with us.
That sounds awesome and hyper relevant to me because I don't know about you, but my LinkedIn's getting pretty nuts. Like everyone's super excited about AI and talk about it, but I spent quite a bit of time replying to everyone. I definitely want to do it because you got great questions, but I'm sure a little bit of automation magic could help there. So Felix, could you share your screen and show us what you got?
Let me start by maybe explaining high level how this works. As you can see, everything starts with Telegram. I found Telegram the easiest way. It's always available, even if you're on the phone in the metro or something. You can always do a quick Telegram chat. So we have the Telegram trigger here and the Telegram reply. And then, it's pretty much connected to an agent. And then next, what I wanted to do is because I already have like a calendar agent and some other stuff, I wanted to kind of build like a sub agent that only is like taking care of LinkedIn stuff with a couple of tasks like searching in my own LinkedIn chats, scraping or like accessing information from a LinkedIn profile. This is kind of like the pre-step. It's just loading data. And I think like a cool byproduct of this is like having control of all your data. Like I used PostHog to, for example, like build my own cool dashboard. So I can kind of track, I already have 95 new followers. There was one post who went like viral kind of ish, which was really good. So I can kind of like nicely check in here. Oh yeah, this post was really good. 67,000 impressions to kind of get an idea of like my post data. And I think once you have the data in, right, like there's lots of cool things like I have with this tool, like searching through chats, coming up with new ones, finding your tone. That's the start of like how to get data in and then building tools on top. But maybe before I continue, I don't know, any questions in between?
First reaction, this is an awesome use of PostHog.
It's
an analytics tool to analyze like channels and platforms in your product. Why not apply that to your LinkedIn? That's super cool. Now, my one question I would have is, I know the LinkedIn API can get locked down pretty heavily. Like you basically got to be like Jeff Bezos to get access. So how are you sort of fetching that data from LinkedIn?
I'm using a really cool company called Unipile, and they're basically allowing you to connect with your account, and then they kind of like take care of all the automation. So they just fully expose the REST API. And I think this is like another really cool feature I love about NNN. You have to do a super cool import call command, and then it can pretty pretty much copy from Unipulse API the request method into here, adjust the secrets, right? I don't want to have the secret in the code. So I changed this, but then it's pretty much ready to go. Yeah, I think another kind of like cool use case, which I did a lot, is like in terms of like, so I think for this API, it's not an issue. They are actually syncing all the chats for you. So I can use like this pagination method and hit it quite hard. But what I've done before is like also actually using, this really cool end expression to use math random to do like a random interval between requests. So this is like a really cool hack on how to, space out the request or just do a for loop with a wait for kind of like things to be a bit more human.
This happens all the time in the community. That's so simple. I've never seen someone do that. And that's genius for getting kind of variability in your requests there.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like the cool thing, right? Like being able to write code. And that's actually, I think also like as a coding person, that's why I like init-n, because it has just the right amount of abstraction. Like when I want to write code and do things more like, I would say efficient or like nerdier, I can do it. But then again, for example, building pagination has always been a pain. And here it's like super easy. Once you understood like the pagination things, it's really cool and easy.
Super cool. Okay, so at this point in the workflow, you've basically ingested the data. And in Postgres, you have like a one-to-one representation of the stuff that you care about in LinkedIn in your own database. That's right?
Yeah, this is how you have the data. One tip or something I like, I actually really love Postgres. I think if you're non-technical, maybe Postgres is a bit scary because it's like a database and things. But what I find like especially helpful in the data pipeline is this upsert functionality and how you guys build it. All I have to do is pretty much specify in here, it should map automatically and then a column to match on. So if the data is already there, I simply update it. If it's not there, I replace it. So that helps me to like pushing data into the database. And if it's there, we'll update. If not, I will insert it. That's why I love using Postgres and PG Vector and a lot of the other things that come with it. In the background, I'm using Neon, which is another really cool company, Neon Tech. And basically what they allow you to do is have a like serverless database. They're like really easy to set up. And you can do database branching, so you can copy like your whole database and get a copy of it. So you cannot destroy anything.
Yes,
one of my favorite tools if you're looking for a cool, cheap, free database, Neon could be cool.
Sweet. Thanks for the pro tip.
So I think then now that we got kind of the idea, the data is into the database, I built this tool called Search My LinkedIn Chats. So the way I defined it is searches and analyzes LinkedIn chat messages by generating SQL queries. So I just watched your prompting the V3 agent YouTube video today. Very cool. I fully agree what you said in here. JSON schema has been for me like the best. And that's what I've been using to just quickly use AI generate JSON schema to kind of like get the right inputs in. What that subflow looks, it gets it here. And then what it does, it's pretty crazy. It generates like a SQL query. This can be a bit dangerous if, someone writes like, oh, do a delete database.
Like drop tables, right? Or something. Okay.
Exactly. But since I'm the one checking with it, you could have like even write like hard filters after this and say, hey, if there's the word drop, delete or something in there, then put an error or something. So I think there's always cool ways to mitigate this. But obviously, since it's me, I take the risk. This is like a basic LLM chain that kind of generates the query. And I think here in the message, I gave it like a good idea. I created this view that stitches together all the chats. I gave it some guidelines on how it should do filtering using like I like and wildcard characters to find things. That's how what were my last few messages with Max? And it should summarize it for me.
Quick question for you, Felix. Any prompting tips? Maybe specifically when it's around SQL or generally things you just picked up from your experience?
So I think, again, what you said in the video, I love Claude Sonnet's workbench generating prompt and improving prompt. It's for some reason doing fantastically well for the things that generate. I think what you covered like pretty well. I like to use XML text when it makes sense to give it structure. Here in this case, I didn't. But yeah, I think generally just prompting around, I love to kind of like use just Claude as a starting point because sometimes I also struggle like, oh, I need this perfect prompt. How do I get it perfect? And you're like in paralysis, you don't know how to start. So I just start off with Claude and then, tinker around. And I think that's also what I really love with init-n, to be able to iterate, click, generate, and, change it, generate, like this flow.
So what happens next? So we've generated the SQL query, hopefully without drop tables. And what's next?
Basically aggregating all the results into one output and then gives this back up to the LinkedIn agent back up here, who then gives it up back to my personal AI assistant, who gives it back to Telegram. So you can see it's already like pretty cool. My AI agent cites the LinkedIn agent should take over. The LinkedIn agent says, okay, let's do the search context. Then I have an LM generate the search query. Results come back, go back up until it comes out. to the chat.
This pattern of having this kind of multi-agentic step where you kind of like have a high level scope and then you break it down, you have an agent focus on just that. I can highly recommend this pattern from my own experiences and basically everyone that I'm talking with. Perhaps in future, you won't have to break it down as much with, the prospect of AGI and stuff. But today, I think this is the best practice that I've seen from people actually building stuff that's actually working, is to kind of scope that down, have it focused, because then there's basically less degrees of freedom for it to mess up.
Yeah, exactly. I think this feature you guys added recently, right? If I go into the executions and get data in here, like what I've been using a lot is these logs. Like they really help me to understand, like, especially the more tools you add, right? It gets kind of like complicated. And this has been like super helpful for me. And then if you just start manipulating here, like the input, then yeah, you can really test it even in smaller steps, which I like a lot, because what I think is also hard with agents, right? Once you set up this agent, sub-agent tool call, you're like, oh, but I just want to debug this thing, right? And I don't want to have the whole thing run again and again. And that's what I also love about init, that I can stop into the different flows, reload execution data, manipulate it a bit, and keep on iterating, which in code is much, much harder. And that's why, yeah, I became such a big init fan.
Sweet. Well, I overstand that. Okay, I think this is the perfect juncture to show me the money. Let's see it working. I'm excited.
So I wrote, can you give me one sentence summary on the last 5 chat messages I had with Max on LinkedIn? Let's send and see.
A few moments later.
You already responded. That was quick. Yeah. Okay. Max reacted to message, schedule online meetings, share a document, and discuss shooting at the init office. Okay. You shared this Notion link with me. I couldn't find it. So for preparing it, so I asked you to get it again. So I prepared this message. I remember Max sharing a Notion link with me. Can you find it for me? Let's see if we can actually find it.
This is like actually useful stuff. You see some of these assistants, you're like, oh, that's cool. But like, I don't ever see myself doing that. This is the kind of stuff that like, that could take you 5 minutes. Like if that message happened a month ago.
And the demo gods are with us, luckily. They show like the link you sent me for preparing. I think for me, where I really want this to be is like, remember I talked with some guy on LinkedIn about something, like what was that about? Can you please shoot this quick message over? So actually what I want to do now is do that and tell it, please send Max a LinkedIn message thanking him for allowing me to be on the show. And when I tested it, it got a bit confused with the tool and said, oh, I cannot do that. But yeah, let's see if it's actually able to do it. Okay, send Max a LinkedIn.
We got, let's see, I don't want to, there's a few other messages that I want to explode, but yes, I did. Here, let's have a look. Here you go, everyone.
Yay.
Thanks for allowing me to be on the show, Max. There you go. Here, let me just give that a little heart right there. Perfect.
And kind of last, I see a lot of really cool people on LinkedIn I want to connect with. And I think just sending sometimes an invite is nice, but I want to put in the carrot to kind of like also do a bit extra. So that's why I created this agent who can draft a connection request based on someone's profile and then actually send it. Luis Guzman, I found like his LinkedIn link here. And let's see if he's able to draft a nice request for him. I think kind of also what I built here, like it should be able to actually pull his profile data. So it shouldn't be just like a generic, I would like to connect, but it should be really based on his profile. And yeah, this is what you can see here. Hey, Luis, so you're head of marketing at init. Cool stuff. Then AI, big fan of marketing, would love to connect. And now if the last demo also works and I tell it, all right, perfect plan. Yeah, and I think it did it. Let's check LinkedIn real quick to like verify that it did. And if I go here to my network and then manage, I can actually see in the one here, you can see I sent it to Luis.
Amazing. That's super cool. I'll put a good word in with the big man, make sure he accepts that connection request. So my first reaction, what I think is really cool and adds a little bit of, I'm guessing, sophistication to this as well, is where it sent you the draft and then you replied in human language, yes, that draft looks good. And this is a trend I'm seeing is where, I think some of the first AIs, we were kind of just like having buttons and stuff and adding UI. And now I see folks more and more like making it feel like really a colleague that you're like messaging on Slack or on Telegram, like an assistant would be like, hey, how does this work that I just did look? And you're like, yeah, sounds good. And you just send that.
Yeah, and I think, you're totally right. Like making it as a tool, right, and putting it into an agent. Yeah, you can like tell it, oh no, slightly other wording. Or I think also, I want to actually add an extent. If you tell an LM, do it under 300 characters, right? Say they do it, but they never do. So actually, you could even build a tool and tell, hey, use this tool to check. The length would just be like a code subflow, like measuring the exact length of characters. and then, it will iterate on itself. And I think before that, right, like you said, you had to build this complicated if then this flow loops or something. And now it's like, yeah, all much, much easier.
Absolutely. It's the Slack tool as well that made me see, a lot of my first workflows. It was like, do the work and then like an if node check and then Slack message. But seeing like these AIs be more and more autonomous where it can just send that message itself or send a, hey, it didn't work out with relevant context, et cetera, et cetera. So I definitely think it's early days in what we can build with AI agents. Felix, what's next for your AI agent? And have you given it a name?
Right now, it's all under the umbrella of Felix personally. Yeah, very creative. So I think like long term, I would love to build a dedicated agent for all of my subtasks. So I already got the scheduling of appointments handled. I got LinkedIn handled. And yeah, I think then from there, right, accounting, maybe doing invoices or like all these tedious tasks that I can imagine. I think cross posting is something also like a very just interesting thing. I already worked on this morning. So I think soon another will come.
Felix, first off, thanks so much for your time on this one. And it's really cool to see, again, I've seen some of these personal assistants, but this one really seems like it's like a good place in terms of like being iterated a bit, the way you're thinking about it, the way you're laying it out to be able to build on it in future. I think a lot of personal projects we hack together, we don't have as much thinking on that. And then we get a lot more debt, but this seems like it's really set up to grow. And being honest, I think there's going to be some CEOs and some sales folks and stuff. They're going to see your LinkedIn and want to be like, gimme, 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 because I think that could be like a product in and of itself. So do you plan to publish or share any of this stuff publicly?
Yeah, for sure. I can share it. I'm happy to share what I chose in it. And it's like it's open source, right? So that's what I love about it. It's all about like sharing and giving back. So, I would be happy to. I'm still in the learning process of how do I do the proper template with notes and everything. But yeah, happy to open source parts of this. I think like the LinkedIn data pipeline or like even sending the simple ones, right? Like a connection request. I'm happy to do that. And I think also, I don't know, Max, if you saw this, but and it's like a rising star in the JavaScript ecosystem. You guys got 17K stars in 2024. So you're officially on top 5 now in the
Cool.
JavaScript ecosystem. So I think that underlines like such a cool and rising product because I think you found like a perfect abstraction of being code, being attractive to coders, being also attractive to no-code people. I'm super excited for it and happy to share this template with you guys.
Firstly, thanks so much, Felix, for the kind words and like your just adoration for like what we're doing and stuff and your support. I was in it as founding designer, so I've been working on this for 5 years right now. I think what keeps me around is that kind of authenticity and
Yeah.
whole community. So when you do post that template, send me a quick DM and I'll do my shilling thing and I'll let everyone know about
Okay.
that. Thanks so much, Felix. And I'd love to have you back on the show, be it you evolving this use case or building something else. So keep that in the back of your mind as you're flowgramming out there, because I think this was really awesome. And I'm sure everyone will be interested to see what else you built.
Sounds cool. I already have one project in mind. I'm happy to. It has something to do with in community notes. I'm already working on it, so maybe that might be interesting. Maybe something else. Yeah, I'll keep you posted on the progress.
Felix, this was awesome. If people want to follow along your journey, where can they do that?
I'm actually on LinkedIn, as you said. One of my goals is to grow my LinkedIn. So if you would love to follow me, try to share more and more like good knowledge there. And I'm also building up my small YouTube channel. Only 2 videos there, but hopefully coming more.
Sweet. So, gang, follow him on YouTube and LinkedIn. If I can do a link in the video, it will be. If not, it's going to be somewhere above, below. You know the drill. Share the love. Help a flowgrammer out. Felix, this has been awesome. Thanks so much. Have a beautiful rest of your week and chat soon. Bye.
Thank you, Max. Have a good one.
Hey, cheers, Felix. Appreciate that one. I'm always blown away at how much our community can do on their own, right? This use case, as you saw, Felix built it out himself to help with his own personal goal of growing his LinkedIn. He didn't have a team to build this, and I'm sure Felix has bills and rent to pay and stuff like that, so he can't spend a week on this either. That's, I think, the really exciting thing about 2025 right now and all this technology is how much you can do on your own, but how much you can do on your own in an amount of time that you can justify on your own. Taking that one step further, imagine what a team of 2 or 3 could do for a week. Right? In a lot of organizations, you can find a team of 2 or 3 for a week if you can solve a big problem like that. So yeah, early days in AI still, right? Like this stuff is only getting faster. If you're a fan of the show and you've been following along, you'll notice that we're just doing an interview with Felix this week. This is something we're testing out, single segment distribution. So this video with Felix will go out, but the next video that's gonna go out is gonna be super, super special because I just got back from Dubai where I was building with Unya Ben Hassu, and we're working also on a LinkedIn use case, basically an app to manage our inboxes. That should be good for C-suite, for influencers, for anyone that's being harassed by their followers in their inbox. Thank you, by the way, guys. Those messages are awesome. I just want to be able to get back to all of them. So yeah, we're going to do this for a few weeks. We're going to try out this new format. I've also onboarded a video editor now. Oleg, thanks for that first edit. Really nice one. He actually edited the video you just saw. The good thing about that is we should be able to ramp up. So more interviews coming out more often, more feature walkthroughs in end-to-end, and then more special projects like my trip out to Dubai, where with Unya in 2.5 days, we built out a really cool solution. So make sure to be following the studio playlist. All these videos are going to be released on there as the studio update was. And again, I know change is weird, change is scary, but bear with us, guys, because in classic scrappy startups, we're innovating, we're trying new things. We'll reflect, we'll retro, and we'll see what we do moving forward. So again, do let me know in the comments how you like this format, and if you hate it, stick around for a couple more, because at the end of the day, it's still Max, it's still Flowgramming, and being honest, it makes it a bit easier for me to not have to have a weekly episode because my mental health is doing my head in with the weekly deliverable. I'm Max, thanks for watching, and happy Flowgramming.